Welcome, Soulbound, to the troubled shores of Anvilgard / Harcuron, because today we are talking about Rotten to the Core. This is the second adventure for the Shadows in the Mist campaign, written by Cubicle 7, and these are the folks who make all of the Games Workshop style RPGs. So in this case, Soulbound is the Age of Sigmar one, there's an Old World, there's a Horus Heresy one coming soon that I'm going to jump on. And these books are outstanding value for both the art, the storytelling, the Dungeon Master assistance it provides. And if you're interested to see all the different supplements they have, because there's tons of adventures, please consider using my affiliate link in the description below. On Miniature Market, they have a lot of printed material. It saves you money and throws a tip in my tip jar. But over the course of this series, we've explored the city in details. We've met some key players, and we even struck out on an adventure. In our last episode in this series, it was to retrieve some defoliant prototypes. And this story, this campaign arc, actually picks up right at the tail end of those events. Now, on this channel, I do spoiler-free series and coverages of the role-playing game settings because I want the freedom to be there for, one, you to be surprised, and two, leave a lot of wiggle room for your Dungeon Master to craft a unique experience. Detailing the opening act of this adventure is very short section, but I'm going to yada past it because realistically, unless your whole party gets wiped, it really just starts when you're back at town. There's a brief travel bit. It introduces some opportunities for minor adventures, encounters, and so on. And then when you arrive back in the city and get a good night's rest, you recoup, you recover, you waste money, ply your trade, get those experience points or whatever, and just sleep with a full belly. For those of you who are just popping into the series, I frame my lore here for Soulbound in such a way to be a primer for Game Masters, something you can send players in advance so they come, ready and on board for game night. We've all got lives, and I hope this helps. Please let me know if it does. And so, up till this point in the Rotten to the Core, there's a lot of information for the GM to kind of be leading the group back to the city. But I want to tackle the drama of this next part from the perspective of your players. We're going to walk over some narrative beats to give people a sense of the story, but at every turn is a dialogue opportunity with discussions that you can watch, you can listen to, you can interrupt. There are special traps. My point is, what I'm about to outline from the player's perspective is by far not everything there is to engage with. Because after you've rested up and you're binding your group of adventurers is called once more to the Conclave Hall to speak with Morgan. This is the leader who gave you your last mission and acts as the, representative to the outside community for the council, or the conclave rather. You've gained a lot of trust by your last mission, dealing with the exfoliant however you did, and so you are now let into a unique situation within the conclave, which is this. While you were away, the conclave began to fracture in a new way. Something happened one night, and the defoliant system on one flank of the city stopped working. And while it was down, a feculent gnarlmaw, a sort of demon-possessed tree, sprouted up at the walls and tore at it. Now eventually, things had gotten under control. Once the mechanics had hours to figure out what happened, they restored the defoliant, and the defenders could handle this level of intrusion. But it was a big blow to the overall security of the city. Why did the defoliant stop working? How come it seemed as though the Chaos forces were right there primed as if, in synchronization? It just seemed fishy, but, that evening was all about containment and then security. So the next day, Conclave leader Tybor Hallowgate made the accusation that another Conclave member, Irina Hakestoder, failed in her duties to keep the wall secure and the defoliant system working. The city invests a lot of money for the projects that she oversees, and so the accusation is, where is that going if a fault like this could still happen? There's more of an implication of incompetence than something nefarious, maybe mishandling of public funds, than any outright accusations. And while that's a bit hasty, while everything's still being fixed and investigated, he does have a point. Why did the system fail? Something like the jungle being up to so easily tear up your walls, never mind the fact that it was like a Nurgle demon tree, it was simply unacceptable. In our world, we would say that this poses a national security threat. right? This is the system you need to be bulletproof. And if you want to trust it for daily life, for city expansion, and you hemorrhage all this money into it, remember, we just got back from an adventure sent out to retrieve a very expensive prototype equipment for this specific kind of thing. It's a defoliant for this system. They can't get it here. They can't keep the walls going. I think it's fair for any citizen of the city to sort of gesture vaguely and be like, what's going on? How come this is failing? Now, roaring in protest at this is Irina Hexdaughter. This is the one accused of failing in her duties. Essentially, she is the Conclave member responsible, the Duarden in charge of making sure all of the engineering aspects of the defoliant perimeter are functioning. This is a no-nonsense Duarden who swears up and down that she had that facility secured and operable. The machines were working perfectly. It was all locked up and had guard patrols. Again, it's not a formal accusation, just like the person who pointed the finger at her, but it's an implication. What if the Black Scale Coil had something to do with it, the known criminal syndicate within the area? Because this doesn't seem like a failure of equipment or duty, it seems like sabotage. And the problem is that it looks like she failed her duties, but when she makes the accusation of sabotage, that is a very different and heavy idea to throw around casually. And that's kind of what escalates this into requiring some outside eyes, and that is fundamentally why you're here. Having proven your resourcefulness and aptitude for navigating the city and the realm around it, you're once again entrusted with a task from the Conclave. You are to investigate the events of the defoliant failure. Interview all parties involved, go inspect the defoliant facilities for any clues, talk to the guards, and so on. Because at minimum, right, Tiber Hallow, whatever her name is, he's right, and this is a massive political scandal where the defender of the city's walls has been, pocketing money or something like that. And at worst, the Duarden is right, because that means somebody on the inside wants this city destroyed. Now, neither condition can be abided by, but obviously one is a bigger problem. A crummy politician is different than someone who's actively working against your nation. And so this is your task. Now, we have no shortage of leads, places to start, and this is a section of the game, to me, where soft skills, as I call them, really come to the fore. Anvilgard is a city of secrets, of lies, extortion, information brokering. There are a ton of tools at your disposal if you're crafty enough to come up with them. It could be as simple as speaking to guards or shopkeepers, factory workers, and so on. But this allows you to go wild and piece together a story, your understanding of the city. The Black Scale Coil and stuff will only aid you. Now, this is a true investigation with a lot of twists and turns. You're responsible for the fate of a lot of parties involved, but regardless of how the story pans out, in the short term, in terms of the actual day-to-day security, the next day they get the defoliant system working again. So this is not an imminent danger type of thing where, as far as you know, the defoliant system is going to fail again in a week or something like that. It's a municipal function that all the citizens expect to just be working all the time. But there is a problem, and this is something that slowly, it's affecting things as you walk into the city, so it's kind of a known thing. It's not really a gossip that I'm sharing. But when it comes back online, it feels different. First off, it's got kind of a weird smell, but there's kind of a weird tang after that. In fact, the Sylvaneth locally are the first to realize it. Something about the defoliant system, once it kicks back on, and we had talked about how prevalent this stuff is, the whole city is in a cloud of plant killer. It shot out at the jungle, the breezes take it all over. Remember, it's a coastal city with lots of wind, and so what is different about what happens when the machine turns back on is that there's sort of a greasy film to it. It's very subtle, but when it lands on food, it sours the taste of them. Stuff starts to look kind of gross. It's all very strange. And it's something that's pointed out to the party, because at this point, your team knows their way around the defoliant plant. You have access to investigate the plant itself, the production system, and ask a bunch of questions, but that's just one kind of environmental clue that everybody comments on. It's not a spoiler, but I bring it to your attention. Now I want to end this video like I end all of them by simply asking the question, why is this cool? I love detective bits, and this is a fantastic one. It brings the intrigue of politicking, of shadow governments and conspiracy theories, with a solid dose of practicality. Both Conclave members have made big claims or implications about the other. One's a suspected thief of public funds, which is bad, and the other is suspects of a traitor, which is a step up. That's the kind of accusation that causes witch hunts and wild and unsubstantiated claims to spread, which quite frankly is a great challenge for you and your party to have to navigate through. Now, if you're more action-oriented, like I said, the early part of this section is adventuring back to the city, so I don't want to diminish that. It's not like if you're warrior-focused, you're going to be bored out of your gourd here. You'll be important. But the emphasis of this chapter of Rotten to the Core is dubious alignments, motivations, people who can beguile, coerce, and intimidate. The city is your battlefield, but you don't know who the enemy is. And I like when games do something like this, right? The decisions you make have consequences. Because at this point in our greater campaign in the Anvilgard area, we're beginning to travel down a road where these adventures are tying into one another more and more, and we are building the consequences of our time here in Anvilgard. How the mission with the defoliant went, how your investigation and judication go, all of those things will matter, so think wisely. Thank you all so much for watching and listening to this video. I hope it was helpful for you and your game night. Please let me know if it is down below. If you're enjoying the Anvilguard series, I will continue it. Cubicle 7 makes fantastic books. I'm going to be covering a few more of theirs here pretty soon, and I hope that you'll stick around for that. Click subscribe if you would. And I will catch you in my next Anvilguard video. Happy wargaming, friends.